Sarah from sarayip.com and Facebook, The Numbers Queen, with my weekly Aloha on the 21st of October 2020. Thanks everyone who's joining me on this live call and also to everyone who will be watching it later. So what massive energy we're all going through right now. Millions, if not billions of people are holding their breath, especially around things like the US election. Just to let you know that my US election post was published today on Yahoo, a global site. The link will be up on my page shortly. And it was a really big deal to write. As you can imagine, I'm a super empath. So for example, I have a client coming in, she might have a knot in her stomach. I'll be sitting there when she comes in with the knot in my stomach. And as much as people say, oh, you shouldn't be so sensitive, I see it as part and parcel of my job. It disappears as soon as I talk about it. And actually these days, often I just know it. I don't always have to experience it. But with that level of, I guess, feeling, you can imagine when I did the charts for President Trump, Mr. Pence, Mr. Biden, and Ms. Harris. And then I also decided to do quite a few of their family members. It was pretty staggering challenge, pretty much on par with my Royals forecast earlier this year, much of which has actually turned out to come true. So why do I do forecasts of the group rather than just individuals? Because individuals can be misleading and it's dangerous to call a pattern before you've really looked at the big picture. So for example, I've got another article coming out soon on the Trump family, and it's kind of like if you were watching somebody moving in a forest and you thought they were going left, but you weren't totally sure. If you could see where the rest of their tribe was going, you could easily see what they were hunting. So to do that sort of holistic numerology requires more effort, but it's far more accurate. Anyway, as a result of that, like I said, I've put it up on my page, and more links will be going up soon. So what did I find? You've got two ancient foes meeting, and they've met before, and there's a lot of karma at play in this election, and they're both just as gigantic as each other. I honestly, when I went in, I felt like I was kind of ducking in between a giant kraken. I think it's called a kraken, like a giant squid, and this huge sort of flock of eagles, and I was trying to get in there and take their measurements. Like a secret agent, and what I saw is that they energetically are equals. So it really is up to the people. And so I would encourage you not to hold your breath, because not only is that bad for your life expectancy, but you're not creating. Yeah, have I talked to you about anagrams? So the anagram of creator is reactor. And I can tell you, if you're not being a creator and determining your life, you are reacting to others and you're letting them push you around energetically. You're being taken advantage of, essentially. So even if you just choose to have a neutral thought or a neutral stance, or just choose some small pleasure at this time, that's going to be much better than holding your breath. Because like I said, that's actually the best way to get sucker punched. Someone holding their breath is just a target for energy vampires. So please don't do that, because you breathe the way you live. I feel like one of the key lessons we're learning as a population right now is how much overemphasis we place on events and how much underemphasis we place on process. Because it's not always about winning or losing the battle. It's about looking at the war versus the peace. You know what I mean? Like when we really zoom out, so many people on the planet are waking up. And when people look at me and say, oh, it's all over, I just say, you haven't been sitting at the arrivals lounge like I have. And I don't mean that physically, obviously, lots of challenges with travel, but I work with children. I have children. A lot of my clients have children. I like to connect with baby spirits. I guess that's a whole nother talk. But when I see the quality of children coming to this planet, that gives me hope. And I would encourage you, if you're feeling really dreadful, to look at the quality of children and teenagers here now, the questions that they ask and the readiness they show to face the world's issues. Because honestly, they are so optimistic, or they wouldn't still be coming here as souls. They clearly think there's still something to look forward to on Earth. And once upon a time when you came to Earth, you believed the same thing. once upon a time, you came down from, I don't know, heaven with its marshmallows and harp music, because you felt that Earth was a place that was worthy of a whole lifetime of exploration. Like, can you remember that moment? Maybe this week you need to. And that's when you'll start playing the long game, and that's when you'll start, for example, understanding things like my article, which is all about the long game. I want to get people interested in numerology. I want to show you that everyone has a set of numbers that they're either using to their potential or they're not. You've all got ingredients, and one of the reasons I profile famous people is so you can learn how to cook with them to your greatest advantage. So it levels the playing field, knowing your numerology and things like that. So what else do I want to talk about today? Obviously, we are about a week into a Mercury retrograde. I mentioned in my last forecast, the year's been so full of delays, we're pretty much immune to this stuff now. It's very small beans, which is probably a good thing, because again, I feel it's a bit overrated. Obviously, I've had a lot of, things happen like missing emails and things gone wrong and last minute surprises, but it's really no big deal when, like I said, you're looking at the big picture. So don't be too scared of Mercury retrograde, but do double check what you say. I've already been caught out a few times, even with my article. I wanted to mention something about that article. It's background information. So I had sort of been invited to write this article on the US election, and I sent something in last week, and I promise this is relevant to today's forecast. It's not just me blubbering. But I just knew it wasn't ready. So I sent in what I'd done, and they're like, yeah, look, work on it more. It's a pretty big deal once we publish it. And wouldn't you know, 24 hours before I submitted my final piece, they published another numerology article on the US election, not by me. So obviously I was feeling a little bit interesting at that point. And you know what I've learned, and I think it's one of our lessons this year, and it's coming up with 2021 being the throat chakra year. I said something. I actually said something. I wrote straight back and I was like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, I've spent some serious time on this, and does this mean you don't need me? Because I will find somewhere else. And they were like, oh, it's just a massive mix-up. We didn't talk to each other. And that was really great. And then I actually pointed out a number of flaws in their article. And I, in fact, contacted the people who had been quoted or misquoted. And I was really clear, like, this is happening. You need to know about it. Even if you don't take action, I don't want it to be on my conscience. I wasn't always like this. I wasn't always this sort of do-gooder. But what I've realized is that my life is precious. And if I'm going to spend time with someone, I'm going to make sure it's nice and clean, even if that means I'm not always popular, because I'd rather be respected than popular. And I'm just suggesting this is going to be a theme for a lot of you watching, or I wouldn't be talking about it. So I made my, words known, and they've ended up publishing my article and doing all the right things. And I feel really good about that. And that's what I'm inviting you to do in the next week, is give the feedback. Like, my next webinar is on, money, spiritual power of money, spiritual energy of money. The anagram of money is my one. It's all about, putting your dreams first, because I can tell you if you have no money, it's because you put everyone else's dreams first. And it's about getting the ratio right. So one of the ways to create more money or more of my one energy is to not put up with nonsense, to be really, really clear, to be in alignment, and to do things like speak up even when it's not popular. You'd be amazed, because that creates change, and that's why they call money change. And people will give you the credit, and that's why they call money credit, because that money has a certain energy, and it is attracted to people who will protect and defend it. Cool. So what are the cards for this week? So I'll be going through our tarot forecast shortly, and then I'll be taking some questions. Just to let you know, it's not so much reading questions, because ethically I prefer to do them in an actual session. However, I can point you to some blogs that might be helpful. It's more sort of spiritual questions, or even just overall, if you're familiar with my work, anything that you've seen pop up that you want to comment on. Okay, so we've talked a lot about how it's time to start speaking up, and that energy is just only going to get more prominent over the next 12 to 15 months. And it's funny, right? We spent this it's not even funny, it's quirky, that we spent this whole year trying not to make any noise. I don't want to cough, I don't want to make a sound, I don't want to pass anything on, even the good news, just in case it's contaminated. This incredible fear of just exchange. And I feel like next year is the opposite. I feel there's actually a lot of, to be honest, I think there's a lot of gatherings, even if maybe most of them are online. I feel like there's a lot of people getting things off their chest, and a lot of people who simply can't be shut up or shut down anymore. I see revolution. The video I was drawn to watching just before this forecast was I Have a Dream by Martin Luther King Jr., a 28-10-1 Pioneer Life Path. And I would encourage you to watch that again, because I just feel like that energy is radically stirring in the world right now. And the affirmation I keep hearing is that force is no match for grace. Force is no match for grace. So make of that what you will. So let's do some of the tarot for this week, then we'll look at some questions. So please write your comments, because it does take time for them to come through. Here's the first card for those of you tuning in for the energy of the next week. It's a beautiful card. This card, this is the Paulina Tarot. This card is the Nine of Cups. The Nine of Cups is called the Wish Fulfilled card. What if the planet was getting what it most needed rather than what it most wanted at the human level? You know, I don't know, when you're a kid and you just pray, I just want a sunny day so I can, I don't know, go out and play in the garden. But actually, when you look out, there's been a drought, and so the universe gives you rain, and you're like, oh, the universe, it's just not got my back. But if you take that step back, you know, when the garden flourishes and everything is in balance, by the time you go to the beach, you'll be even more beautiful. It's all part of this big cycle of life, waiting your turn. So what I'm saying is, what if our wishes were coming true at some level? What if there is some sort of cleansing going on? And what if it's not about like I said, the individual battle, but it's about the war? And what if people are waking up more than they ever have, and we are going in the right direction, and the children coming here who's so beautiful, positive, and conscious are a sign that Earth still has a lot going for it? What if? What if? So keeping an open mind is the first thing. What's the next card? Nine of Pentacles. Sisters doing it for themselves. Women who mean business. Women who mean business. I have to say, I really got that energy off Ms. Harris. I will be releasing a few more posts on the different numerology of the candidates, but she's got a strong energy, strong, powerful energy. And what you do in numerology is you add up your date of birth left to right to get your life path. That's the system I use. It's very telling of what's happened at your life path turning point. It's really telling of like, what are you here to truly accomplish and teach in the world? Now, from memory, Ms. Harris, Kamala Harris, she's a 23-5, a rebel. We know fives are big in 2021. And at 23 was when she was an intern, and there was a drug raid at the office she was working at, and an innocent woman was arrested, and Ms. Harris said something and got her free. She talked to the judge. She used her voice, her fifth chakra, her life path, and she made a difference. So look, I'm trying not to be pro or con either way. I'm really aware people need to make up their own minds, but that was her turning point. Super interesting. Hey, now Mr. Biden, he's a 2-0, and at 20, he was just finishing his vacation job as a lifeguard, the only white lifeguard at a black dominated city pool. And he took that job so he would understand how, this is what, of course, he says anecdotally, he would understand, you know, what was going on in society. So very interesting turning points, don't you think? Given that Ms. Harris is here for more free speech, ideally, highest potential. Mr. Biden is here for peacemaking, ideally, highest potential. Look, I'm aware there's controversy with all of them. I really am, and I'm a numerologist, and that's what I'm sticking to. Let's look at Mr. Trump. So he's a 31-4. Heart healer there, or heart healer, empire builder. They're in the spotlight this year. At 31, he got married to Ivanka. He had his first son, Donald Trump Jr., also a 31-4, and his other son, Barron's also a 4. Can you imagine? And he was doing his first real estate renovation deal, the Commodore Hotel. Very, very controversial. So you can see very different life themes. And again, it's not for me to judge. Like, I'm not God. But it's just very interesting to look at the themes. And sorry, I haven't done Mike Pence yet, and for time, I'm not going to cover him right now, but maybe next week. So I hope you found that interesting. Whatever side of politics you're on, you know, what I'm here to do is to show you numerology is a tool to not only understand yourself, but to understand other people in a really objective way, which allows you to make better decisions that are not based on media bias or peer pressure, but decisions based on where do you want to go in life and what do you value. It's kind of like the ingredients list that they don't show you, the fine print. Okay, so the Nine of Pentacles sisters doing it for themselves. I think you'll find in the next week, especially a lot of women wanting to be in charge of their lives again and taking step forwards, especially in the areas of financial security or wanting to bond even with other people, make sure that they're not left behind, especially in that career sense. Because if you don't do it, yeah, you know, people aren't always going to do it for you. We don't live in a Cinderella world. Okay, I don't know, and I don't know that we ever did. It was a bit of a myth. So what's the other card showing up before we take questions? Two of Pentacles. Oh, this is such an interesting card because I've been talking about wealth. Look, let me just listen to the word wealthy. W-E-A-L-T-H-Y. Let's break it apart. Will, W-E-A-L, lie, T-H-Y. Will is a scar or a wound or a bruise in, I think it's Old English. And thy, your. So when the wound is behind you is when you are truly wealthy. When the wound is behind you is when you're truly wealthy. And so that's why wealth is so different for so many different people. And what this card is saying is really look at what fills you. Because maybe you don't need more money and maybe you don't need more status. Maybe you don't even need certain people to win certain elections. Maybe what would make you really rich in your life is more home cooking or a beautiful garden or some time with your loved ones. And it sounds like that's too simple. That's not changing the world, Sarah. But if you're not coming from a place of centeredness, you are spreading chaos. That's all I can say. So really looking at what makes you feel rich, truly rich in your life. Rich with purpose, rich with energy. So lots of money cards at the moment. Anyway, let's take some questions. So I'm just going to start looking at them now. Thank you everyone who said hello. I always love that. People are starting to see 555. Makes total sense to me. That's the code for next year, 2021, Universal 5-year. Revolution. 5 looks like a propeller. We're going places as a planet. People are saying they've come across a lot of bullies in the last few days. That is a Mercury retrograde thing. I've written a number of articles about how people show their true faces in Mercury retrograde. It's a time to get rid of those people who basically are very immature. You've got to understand, like a bully and energy vampire is just someone who hasn't grown up. They haven't grown up, and you need to be the kind parent. You need to, be assertive there, because otherwise they will just keep carrying on like a pork chop. And even to distance yourself as needed. So think of them as kryptonite. Bullies don't necessarily kill you. Obviously, in some extreme cases, unfortunately, they do, but they slow you down, like kryptonite Superman. So just think of them as kryptonite. You don't need too many of them. Maybe every now and then is good, so you remember that you're human and you have lessons, but you don't need so many. You don't need so many. Give yourself a chance to fly. What other questions have we got? Some people have started talking about their gender identity. Yeah, look, the number 5 is really associated with the free spirit, and perhaps there'll be a lot more fluidity and open-mindedness, like I said, in 2021. And it's interesting. Did you know this whole idea of fidelity and faithfulness? It's very linked to religion. And the 1111 energy, I always say it's like many paths to heaven. Many paths to heaven, not just one God, one boss, one parent, one rule, one income. It's very much about multiple options, not necessarily, sleazing around, but just understanding that everything is a choice and you have a lot of choice. No matter what they say, you have a lot of choice. Okay, I've got people saying they're experiencing a lot of people getting overwhelmed or fed up with mainstream media. Fantastic. Do you know what I experienced when I tuned a lot into the Trump energy? And I know it's not just that, but I just wanted to eat junk food. Like, all I wanted to do. I was living on cookies for a few days and I had to pull myself out of that because I'm pregnant. And I didn't shame myself, but I was like, oh, that's so interesting. When I started reading all this sort of political articles, I just wanted to eat sugar because it put me into stress and fear. So I guess what people are realizing is that is a type of energetic manipulation. You keep people so destabilized that they never grow. Because, if you keep, for example, changing you've got a pot plant, you keep moving it into different pots or disturbing the soil, it will never flower or grow. And I feel like sometimes there are forces that do that with humans. They keep pulling the carpet out from under our feet or say, are you sure you're secure? Are you sure they love you? So you never really reach that spiritual conscious and awakening where you feel like you do have enough. So that's natural. The number 5 is very much the person who questions conformity and conventionality. So we're starting to wind up. What else have I got? Last couple of things. Yeah, look, just a lot of people seeing numbers. Welcome to the page. Welcome to the community. You're in the right place. I'm going to start winding up now, and I just want to say, yeah, I had a beautiful, beautiful client today. Oh my gosh, she was stunning, stunning energy, and I had to tell her to come down. Like, her vibration was so high. I was like, you're up here, but the people are here. Like, there's only so much work you need to do on yourself to be a capable speaker, spiritual teacher, healer, whatever. And after that, it's kind of just excess. And really, what's going to make the difference is hitting the ground, sharing your knowledge, and learning on the job. You know, there's only so much study one needs to do in a human body before you kind of crack the code. So all I'm suggesting is, some of you watching, you're probably in this boat. You're like, I just got to do one more course, or I don't want to do a reading unless I'm going to be 100% accurate. Oh dear me. You know, if you do that, I don't know how to say this, but you'll always be creatively infertile. That would be like not having kids unless you are 100% sure nothing bad would ever happen to them. You know, it's not sort of giving yourself a chance. It's not giving your future self a chance. And I just want to start tying up here again. I have children, and that's really been the life-changing aspect of my life. In fact, when I had my kids, I was like, oh, it's all been a big joke. I thought it was about me, but I was pretty much brought here for them. And all I'm saying is, whether you have children or not, to have a cause that enlivens you so much that you want to be the beanstalk and not the bonsai shrub, or the, you know, that like the person hiding out. That's the meaning of life, to have something that you love and are so passionate about. And I hope that tonight you've seen, my passion is that numerology and helping you to believe in your future self. And I hope that you will start really looking for yours as a result of watching this video, because yeah, it's the meaning of life to have something that really makes you want to grow up. So thanks everyone for all of your incredible support, your beautiful questions. I hope that this has made a difference to you. Please come back next week. And a special big thank you to my Patreon community, because without your support month on month, it would be very hard for me to do these research projects, because I would basically very much be just trying to earn a crust. So thank you for those of you who've gone above and beyond to support me on Patreon. Good luck, everyone. Sarah from sarayip.com, and Facebook, The Numbers Queen, Instagram, sarayip1111. Peace signs to you always, and I'll see you in a week. Take care, folks. Bye.